Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, welcome back to another sermon here on our Gowanda Assembly of God YouTube page. This is Pastor Dave Gable here at Gowanda Assembly, and I'm doing a recap of our June 3rd message, which is the very first in a new series called The Storyteller Chronicles, simply because I forgot to start recording the message. So, oh well, it happens, but so this will be a little bit shorter message, and let's get started. We are going to start our series off with the character Abraham in the Bible. And there's a couple of reasons why I chose to start off with Abraham. He's really kind of a father figure, really, in many ways in our faith. He's the father of the entire nation of Israel. Often God is described in the Bible as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the guy, Abraham. So let's start off with a little bit of information about him. He lived about 2000 BC. That's right, about 2,000 years before Jesus was born. And in a biblical timeline, that would put him about 2,000 years after the Genesis creation. So I believe the earth is probably about as old as the Bible says it is. If we go by chronologies and records in the Bible, it would suggest that the earth is probably somewhere in the ballpark of 6,000-ish years old. And Abraham lived right about in the middle between creation and the birth of Christ. Where did he live? It talks about him living in an area called Ur, or a city called Ur, U-R. And that city actually has been found. The ancient city of Ur was located south of Baghdad in what is now Iraq. So Abraham is a historical figure who really did exist. And what we have is in the Bible is really a history of his life. So Abraham is actually mentioned in 8 of the first 9 New Testament books. So even though he had been dead and gone for a couple of thousand years before Jesus was born, he is a central figure in our faith today. Abraham is a man that God said to him, rise up and take your wife and your kids and all your belongings and go to a land that I'm going to give you. And that land is today the nation of Israel. They don't possess all of what God showed Abraham, but they possess a good chunk of it. And that nation lives on to this day. He's a man who God said that his faith was accounted to him as righteousness. One really interesting thing about Abraham is that the Jewish nation is where all of the ancient law comes from in the Bible, laws about what we eat and Sabbath days and different biblical feasts and circumcision and all different rules came from the nation of Israel. But one of the neat things about Abraham is that it says that God accounted his faith to him as righteousness before he gave the nation of Israel any rules to keep, which means that Abraham's faith in his Creator, his trust and confidence in his God, was what God accounted to him as righteousness, not any specific thing he did, because works are really a product of true faith. They don't earn us anything, but they can certainly be looked at as proof. I wanted to show you kind of a really interesting little timeline here that I came across. Before we do that, let's take a look at Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 4. And this is really the beginning of the story of Abraham. It says, "Now the Lord said to Abram," by the way, Abraham's name was originally Abram, and God changed it to Abraham, which means a father of many. So now the Lord said to Abraham, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. I'm going to give you a little bit of background information. Abraham's father's name was Terah, and Terah had 3 sons. There was Abraham, Abram at the time, there was Haran, and there was another brother whose name is escaping me at the moment. Anyways, you can look it up. It's in Genesis 12. He's mentioned. So Haran, the brother of Abraham, passed away. And at some point in time, Terah, his dad, decided to move their family or move their clan or whatever. And he was going to take them to Canaan, which oddly enough is the place that God ended up sending Abram to, the land of Canaan. And on their way, moving in that direction, they stopped in Haran where his brother had lived, and they settled there. And this is where God calls Abram to move from Haran, and that's where he moves when he's 75 years old. He scoops up his wife, Sarah, and all of the servants that he had, all of his livestock, which was quite substantial, and began moving to a land that God had never showed him. One of the neat things we see in Abram in this situation is that his priority was the call of God on his life. And this is before any of the Bible was written at all. The only thing that may have existed at this time is maybe the writings that Job had written down, but we don't know that Abraham knew of those or anything. So this is a totally personal relationship between him and the Lord. And he takes seriously enough the call of God in his life to move everything. And I think a little bit of, what if today God said, hey, I want you to move to, I don't know, Ohio. And people said, well, where, or he said, I want you to move somewhere. I'll show you when you get there is more like it. And somebody asked me, well, where are you moving to? And I said, well, I don't know. He'll show me when I get there. People would definitely think that's a little odd. And I would think my wife would think that would be odd. So we don't know what Sarah's attitude was, but this certainly was not necessarily an easy thing to do, but he followed God. So he's our first example of someone really putting their priority of their family and their future and everything in a call from God. So let me show you this timeline now real quick. This is a chart of how long people lived in the sequence of generations from creation all the way up through Abraham. Now, men and women lived long, long times before the flood happened. And that really makes for some curious stuff in here as we look at this. So Noah was born about 1056 years after creation, based on lineages we can read out of the Bible. And he lived 950 years. So if you look at these dates, look at Noah there in orange, 950 years. He died 2006 years after creation. Go all the way to the bottom, look at Abraham. He was born 2008 years after creation, which means Noah's son Shem's son Arphaxad's son Selah's son Eber's son Peleg's son Ru's son Serug's son Nahor's son Terah's son Abraham would have been alive within 2 years of Noah. That's crazy. That means although there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations between Noah himself and Abraham, they would have missed each other by only 2 years on the earth. In fact, Shem, who is one of Noah's sons, one of Noah's 3 sons, was actually alive for most of Abraham's life. Abraham only lived about 25 years beyond the death of Shem. And what's really cool in this story is that means that for 50 years of Isaac's life, Abraham's son Isaac, Grandpa Shem would have been alive and on the earth. That's pretty amazing. There's actually a story, if you look at all these people here, Abraham had a son Isaac. So it's Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob was born, Isaac's son Jacob, and Jacob is the father of all 12 tribes of Israel, one of them being Joseph. The story of Joseph in the coat of many colors, sold into Egypt by his brothers, becomes the second most powerful ruler in Egypt, and is the man through which God saves the nation of Israel from drought and famine when his brothers come to Egypt and are saved and rescued in that place. Now, a really cool detail in that story is when his family ends up coming to Egypt, Joseph, as any good son would do, introduces his father to the Pharaoh, and a really unique little conversation happens. I'm going to read it to you. It's found in Genesis chapter 47. It says, I'm starting at verse 7. It says, Then Joseph brought in Jacob his father and stood him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, how many are the days of the years of your life? And Jacob said to Pharaoh, the days of my years of my sojourning are 130. So Pharaoh's kind of saying, how old are you, dude? He says, 130 years. He says, few and evil have been the days of the years of my life. He spent years and years thinking Joseph had been killed. He lost Joseph's mom, Rachel, his beloved wife, years prior. He says, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their sojourning. Jacob actually says to Pharaoh, I'm about $130, but this ain't nothing compared to my grandfathers. Wow, when you look at this slide, that is obviously true. And Jacob would have only missed a lot of these older guys by maybe 40 years, 50 years. So maybe that long. I'd have to look that up, but he's right in saying to this. So Pharaoh's like, well, how old are you, man? You're old. How old are you? And he says, well, I'm this old, but it's nothing compared to my father's going back. And he's absolutely right. Pretty interesting. So when you think of all the things that Abraham would have had access to, knowledge-wise, just from generations back, it's pretty crazy. Here's a picture of an old guy. Don't know how old he is. He may be younger than he looks, but I mean, maybe he's in his 80s, maybe he's in his 90s, maybe he's 100. But he's curiously got an iPhone in his hands. And the iPhone represents technology that may have been dreamt of when he was a boy. And he's holding it like he knows how to use it, which is kind of cool. But think of all the things, all the information and stories and knowledge and expertise that people in Abraham's day would have had access to just from past generations. That's pretty crazy. He would have had so many different experiences. One of the things we need to remember, though, too, is that Abraham was a guy. He was a man. He was a human being just like we are. And although Abraham believed in God and trusted God's call to provide for his family and to lead him, Abraham also was a fallen person. Abraham did some dumb stuff, okay? Abraham a couple of times told his wife Sarah to tell leaders in cities they were going into that she was his sister. I have still not figured out how do you do that? I'm not sure why you would do that, and it caused some really awkward situations where men decided to take her as a wife, and luckily didn't go too far from there, but he just flat out lied in those situations, which is just really kind of weird. So he was like us. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't a man who lived and did things that are totally outside of the realm of possibility in our own lives. He was a man that God called and who responded to God's call. And God is pretty much always, in stories, the initiator. He's not asking us to start anything. He's not asking us to come up with some grandiose scheme to save the world. He's just looking for us to listen and to follow his voice when he calls. It's pretty simple. And that's what Abraham is an example of in our lives. In that verse in Genesis, God says, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. That is how Jesus came to this earth. Through the line of Abraham, Jesus was born. Joseph is a direct descendant of Abraham. So is King David. Solomon is a descendant. And one of the neat things about that lineage is that it's filled with drama and mistakes. There is incest in that line. There is betrayal in that line. There is adultery in that line. There is all kinds of just humanness that's in that line, but yet God chooses that line to work through and brings Jesus into the world through it. In this little look at Abraham and Abraham's life, the story we want to tell is all the examples of times when he stepped out and trusted God and God provided for him. We see in Abraham a heart for giving God a portion. We see him trusting in God. We see him making mistakes, trying to jump the gun and get ahead of God's plan and do things himself, and he was just like us. But at the end of the day, what Abraham was looking forward to was something beyond the door. When I say beyond the door, I'm talking about something on the other side of the grave, something that is beyond this life, beyond any achievements, beyond wealth, relationships, or anything. The Bible talks about a crown, that there's a crown waiting for us when this life is over. And Abraham was working for his God. What was important to him was his relationship with his Father in heaven, not so much what he had on this earth. That may seem like an odd thing to say, there's going to be crowns there for us. I just want to spend eternity with Jesus, and a crown, okay, if there's a crown, whatever. We're all just going to throw him at his feet anyways, but this is actually a typo here. That's supposed to say 2 Timothy 4:6-8. It says, "For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearing." As I said, there's a typo here. That's 2 Timothy 4:6-8. This is Paul writing to the young Timothy, saying that for all of us who have loved his appearing, who strive to be with him, there is a crown waiting for us. There really is something so much bigger than this world to work for. And no matter what this world can offer, there is nothing that can compare with the reward and the relationship we have with him on the other side of that door. A crown laid up in glory for us, everything to look forward to. And you know what? If I face some sickness in this world, that's pretty normal. If I face some persecution, that's pretty normal. Not everything's going to go perfectly. There's nothing in the Bible that says that if you do a good enough job, he will bless everything you do. Is there such a thing as rewards? Sure, there's such a thing as consequence. There are things God blesses and things that God spanks. That is very true. But Jesus told us you're going to face tribulation and trial. Paul said, I've come to be content in whatever I face, in plenty or little, in prison or freedom. No matter where I find myself, I have learned to be in that place content. And that's actually where we find the verse, "For I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." He was talking about his ability to be content in all places. So Abraham is our example of this life is not all there is. There's something so much more to live for on the other side of that door. This life is a breath. Even if it is 175 years long, it's just a breath. And we need to focus on forever and not just on here, in the same way that we need to focus on our life and not on just a single day, because it's so much bigger than just a day. Our existence is so much bigger than just a life. I hope this message encourages you to open the door and ask God to examine your life and see where you stand. Where do you trust him? Where do you not? How much do you believe that you're earning a place in heaven that really can't be earned? It all has everything to do with his love for you and the blood that Christ shed on the cross for you. Being changed and made new and made more like him isn't so much work as it is a growing relationship with the one who loves you more than anything else. I pray as I close this short recap message up that God and his word would be impacting your life every day, that you would be drawn into times when you just talk with him, prayer. I pray that your life would be surrendered to him in every area you can think of, and that in every day you're growing in your knowledge and understanding of him, that you would be coming more and more every day to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself. For the word says that we love him because he loved us first, and his love is the greatest, and it is the ultimate changer of all things in our lives. I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you back here at our YouTube channel, or if you'd ever like to spend a Sunday morning with us, our services are at 10 a.m. at 78 Allen Street in Gowanda, New York, 14070. Church number is 716-532-5038. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. If you would like to support Gowanda Assembly of God or any of the ministries that we support or projects that we're doing, it's very simple to do that. You can just go to www.givetogowanda.com and it takes you right to our giving kiosk page. Again, I hope you have a splendid week, and we'll see you again here soon. God bless.